Today we're diving into a negotiation that completely flips the script on what it means to win. See, it's not about crushing your opponent. It's about creating a landscape where they, well, defeat themselves. This is the Alina strategy.
And it really did. I mean, it didn't just look like a simple setback, it looked like a total, undeniable loss. But what we're about to see is that this apparent defeat was just the opening move.
All right, so let's set the scene. A big contract dispute wraps up. It's incredibly fast, and the result seems totally straightforward. This is the exact moment Elena's opponent pops the champagne, thinking they've won the war. The judgment came down, and it was decisive. There was really no room for argument.
The terms were set in stone. All the control was officially handed over to the other side.
And this is the part that threw everyone for a loop. Elena just accepted it. She walked away without so much as a peep. In a deal this big, that's just not what you expect. Which brings us to the big question, right? Why would you concede so completely? Well, because this wasn't an ending. It was a meticulously planned beginning. The real fight wasn't over the contract, it was buried deep inside of it. And here we get to the absolute core of her strategy. Elena knew that real control doesn't come from winning a piece of paper. It comes from understanding that paper better than anyone else. Her real advantage was hidden in the very fine print her opponents were celebrating. We call this concept weaponized complexity. It's this idea of knowing an agreement so well that its own rules, its own complicated machinery, become your personal enforcement tool long after everyone thinks the deal is done. So while the other guys were focused on the big, flashy wins, Elena was in the weeds. She wasn't looking for loopholes to get out of something. No, she was mapping every single potential point of failure. She knew the contract required flawless execution, and she knew that, in the real world, flawless execution just doesn't happen. Okay, and this is where the strategy goes from smart to absolutely brilliant. Elena didn't just use the contract's own complexity. She used her opponent's psychology, their own sense of victory against them. Think about it. That win made them feel invincible, right? So that confidence led them to commit. And I mean really commit, pouring in resources, money, reputation, the whole shebang. But that very commitment, that's what made them so vulnerable. They were now locked into a system that was practically designed to fail.
They felt like they were in the driver's seat. They had the signed contract, they were calling the shots, but what they didn't realize is that they were just driving deeper and deeper into a maze that Elena had already mapped out completely.
So, the trap is set. Now we just get to watch it spring shut. And this isn't some sudden explosion. It's a slow, grinding process where the pressures of reality start to chip away at the very foundation of their supposed victory. And at first, everything looks fine. But pretty soon, the pressure starts to mount. Costs start creeping up, margins are shrinking, and then it happens. The first delay. It's small, but it's the trigger. That one little slip starts a domino effect of failures. Because the contract had zero room for error.
And that was the fatal flaw Elena had spotted from day one. This agreement wasn't a partnership built on flexibility. It was a rigid machine. Its deadlines were absolute. It wasn't designed for real-world success. It was designed to punish any tiny deviation from a perfect, unrealistic plan.
This is it, the moment the entire strategy was built for. The trap has sprung, the failures are piling up, and Elena re-enters the picture. But here's the key. She's not here to argue or renegotiate. She's here to execute. The very document they toasted as their greatest victory was now the weapon being turned against them. Elena just had to point to the terms they themselves fought for and enforce the consequences they had willingly signed up for. It was clean, it was legal, and there was absolutely no way out. This really breaks the whole thing down. What they saw as a huge early victory was actually a strategic concession from her. When they thought they were gaining control, Elena knew they were just accepting massive exposure. They thought they won the deal. She knew she was setting the trap. So, this is the playbook. It's simple, but it's powerful. First, master the details everyone else just skims over. Second, let your opponent think they've won the opening round. Use their overconfidence, their commitment, as your true leverage. Then, you wait. You let the contract's own mechanics do the heavy lifting. And when the time is right, you don't renegotiate. You enforce. You know, the Alina strategy proves that the most powerful leverage isn't always the loudest person in the room or the biggest threat. Sometimes it's hidden in the complexity that everyone else is just too busy or too arrogant to understand. So the real question to ask yourself is, where will you find it?